Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk all things hockey are your hosts, Brad Crisco, Ryan Hanna, and Evan Lobsinger.
You're looking at me in disappointment before I even say it because you know I'm going to say it.
People are going to get mad at you, and I'm going to give them your address.
That's fine. It's not every day your team goes to the AFC Championship game, buddy. People can get as mad as they want. Nobody's wiping this smile off my face for a week. The Red Wings, no matter how bad they play, will not be able to wipe this smile off my face this week. And no, Detroit, do not take that as a challenge.
Okay, first of all, don't push the limits. We only just got Red Wings hockey back. Secondly, you're talking to the most not distraught, but just like cold, dead sports fan base probably in America right now. Most of the listeners, in addition to being Red Wings fans, are also Lions fans. We are broken, and we're currently like with the Lions. It's like, but it can't get worse from here. And then like not the monkeypox curls, but then like it's a record scratch and it gets worse. We're currently in the is Stafford gonna leave phase, and like that's just a special kind of pain that we don't have the emotional capacity to process. So if you're going to sit here and brag about your Buffalo Bills being in the AFC Championship and the only thing between you and a Super Bowl appearance is Chad Henne, Brad, I will give every one of these people your address.
And it'll be worth it. Now, that being said, so here's my argument to that. Obviously, because of this, most of my Twitter followers are also Lions fans, and I am super appreciative of all of my followers putting up with the Buffalo Bills bullshit on my timeline. I am aware there's a lot of it lately on game days. The one thing that's actually been shocking, but overwhelmingly awesome, is because the Bills and the Lions were so crappy for so long together, Lions and Bills fans can relate to each other. So the Lions fans in my timeline have been happy to see the Bills winning because they're like, if they can do it, maybe one day we can do it. And I mean, Matt Pat's gone, so maybe that's next year. I'm just saying, like, things are changing in Detroit. Maybe not for the better in the short term, but for the long term, Red Wings are doing the same thing. I'm not going to sit here and promise you a playoff appearance next year, but hey, maybe. But I'm just saying, they were very similar franchises for a very long time. So that brohesion, we'll call it, has been overwhelmingly positive on my timeline.
Brohesion, fun new word. Thank you, Brad. I can appreciate having a good sports team to make all of the major stuff with the Red Wings a little bit more palatable. That's what Liverpool has been for me, and for Evan, that's what having billions and billions of dollars is for him. But yeah, Brad's happy for your sports, and you'll put your money in the tip jar. And for now, we are going to, unfortunately for you, move on to the Detroit Red Wings. Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast.
Also won yesterday. What is this reality I'm living in?
Some malicious god up there is giving you a bunch of good things only to slap you really hard soon.
I mean, I think it might have, the optimistic view here was it's the opposite because 2020 just slapped all of us consistently for a very long time. I'm going to chalk this up to this is the reverse monkey paw for the draft lottery.
Yeah, we'll take that. I mean, those 3 days of training camp made up for the draft lottery for me personally. I don't know.
Oh, 100%. You know what would make up for the draft lottery for me personally, not you guys, but for me, a Buffalo Bills Super Bowl.
Stop. No, you were not mortgaging away Red Wings karmic debt for Buffalo Bills crap. Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Putting up with this guy trying to railroad this show. I'm Ryan Hanna.
Unusually happy. I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
Evan, have you ever known Brad to be anything other than unusually happy?
No, I actually have not.
2020 was just a thing, guys. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, but you're always like annoyingly happy. Like I need to cheer myself up before I see or talk to you because you're always going to be at like an 11 in terms of cheeriness. And I'm like, if I'm not at an 8, if I'm at a 6, I'll stab him. The differential's too high.
Make it till you make it.
on this episode of the Wingfield Podcast. Not a lot of faking it because there's a Red Wings win to talk about. So we'll be breaking that down, talking a little bit about player storylines, good, bad, ugly, everything in between. Bobby Ryan, Zadina, Mantha, Evan. Not actually Evan. And then maybe chatting a little bit about the rest of the NHL, and then probably just jumping into overtime. I love having game recaps. It's been so long since we've been able to do game recaps.
I know. It's talking about a hockey game. It like the concept just feels weird, doesn't it? Because like we talked about the playoffs in the summer, but we didn't have any horse in that race, so our heart really wasn't into it.
We've done speculation for basically the past 10 months. We've just been speculating. Tons of speculation all the time. And now we're done.
What's Jeff Blashill's line combination? What's that going to look like in 3.25 years, provided that the Red Wings have, like, it's nice to have substance. So, actually, I keep looking at this. It just popped up on my screen again, calendar. A 12 p.m. game tomorrow. I get it. Like, it's a COVID season. They just need to get the games in, and they're not always all going to be pretty times, but like 12 p.m. on a Monday, really? Yeah,
that's confusing as all hell. So apologies if we don't cover that fully because, we work.
Yeah.
I'll try to have the game on in the background at work. Might not be possible.
That's going to be the game where like Zadina scores 3 different of the greatest goals of all time, and Evan's the only one of us covering it.
He's going to pull a lacrosse move just to spite us.
Yeah, the Michigan, if you will.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Speaking of Svechnikov, the Red Wings played their second of 2 games against Carolina last night and came through with the win. First Red Wings victory of the year, and we only had to wait until the second game, which was nice because the first game was predictably rough hockey to watch.
Yeah. And I'm super happy that earlier in the episode you said I am one of the cheeriest, happiest go lucky guys. Because even though the Red Wings won, I'm still going to be very negative about this game because that by and large was a terrible game from the Red Wings again. But this is what's different with the Red Wings this year because I think we all knew that coming into the season, Greiss and Bernier were going to be good. And through 2 games, they've been very, very good. They've been doing their part to send Detroit on a PDO bender. They have lived up to their expectations. Detroit shooters have not, but in the second game, there was just enough. Now, here's the fundamental difference, at least in a small way, for the Red Wings this year to last year. The depth players are good enough to prevent the bad games from turning into 7-1 deficits. So even though the Red Wings had a very bad first period again, they treaded water, came out of it 0-0. The goalies did their part. The Stetchers, the Merrills of the world did enough to limit the chances against, despite Detroit only getting 5 shots on net again. But the biggest difference between last year and this year is Filip Zadina. And it's not necessarily Filip Zadina himself. It's the concept of having a Filip Zadina full time. A guy with truly elite game-breaking skill, not on the Larkin-Mantha line. Because we know that Larkin-Mantha line is going to see tougher matchups generally, so we need that secondary scoring. The argument against Filip Zadina when I was talking about on Twitter how good of a game he had was, well, yeah, he had a couple points, but he wasn't super noticeable the rest of the game. Sure, he didn't make any mistakes, but it's not like it was nonstop chances when he was on the ice. To which you're right. Here's the thing with guys who have Filip Zadina's skill. They don't need nonstop chances to make something happen. They just need 1, 2, 3 chances, and something happens. Zadina made an all-world play to set up Bobby Ryan for the first Red Wings goal of the year. He stripped a defenseman of the puck from behind, cross-body, on his backhand, and immediately made a tape-to-tape pass to Bobby Ryan in front. I know I tweeted that breakdown. That is not a play a normal hockey player can make. That is not a play an average NHL hockey player can make. And we talked, I think it was last episode or 2 episodes ago, that apparently in training camp, people were reporting that Zadina's puck hounding and puck retrieval and Datsuk-esque steals were very noticeable. There it is in gameplay. It took him one opportunity on that to turn it into a goal. Later in the game, he picks up a puck loose in the corner. Looks like he's going to go around the net. Short pass, front of the net, Robbie Fabry, 2 minutes to go, Red Wings up 3-2. Guys with that type of skill just need a couple chances because they know what to do with it. Now, yeah, I would have liked to have seen him make more chances. I'd rather see him have 10 shots on net and 2 points versus like 3 shots on net and 2 points, obviously. But the point being, he doesn't need them. It's the same with Larkin. I will argue Larkin had a bad game in game 2 as well. But he made a great play on the empty net goal to seal the win, and he made a great play and got a lucky bounce on his goal. Much like Zadina, just needed those couple chances. He didn't make something happen every shift. He barely made anything happen offensively for the first 2 games. But when you're that good, you don't need much. And that's the difference with the Red Wings this year. And again, to a lesser extent, Bobby Ryan's the same type of player, just older, slower. Don't expect him to do it as often as Zadina. But he can do it. Even on that, we talk about Zadina's praise on Bobby Ryan's goal. That was a strong side 1T that Bobby Ryan did not whiff on and managed to get through Mrazek. That's not an easy shot to make. So it's just, this is what we mean when we say the Red Wings need to get more skilled. And Yzerman did his job.
Yeah. You referenced Zadina being the biggest difference maker, and you don't have to look too far back to find us talking about that. It was, I think, the season preview where we said if we had to pick one spot on this roster that's going to make the biggest difference this season, it's not goaltending, it's not Bertuzzi, Larkin, Mantha, it's not the depth, it's literally Filip Zadina, because there is no second line center on this team that's a true second line center. You know, whether Fabry is serviceable or sufficient in that role, like that's not a knock on him. He could be, but there is no like Larkin level center or anyone really close. So that line needs to be driven from the wing. Like Brad said, Bobby Ryan is going to be capable, but he's not going to be driving that line. Robbie Fabry is a good winger, but he doesn't necessarily drive a line himself, at least not all the time. Filip Zadina, who has that star level talent, has to be the one to do it. And, you know, again, it's same thing as we said before, where we're not going to extrapolate from one game and make a negative conclusion. We're not going to do it positively. So we're not going to say Zadina's going to have an elite season all year. But we saw a game from Filip Zadina that represents the ability that he has underlying. If he can pull out games like that consistently, that second line is driven by Filip Zadina, and he's emerging into his own. That's the biggest difference maker on this team. And like you said, Brad, there's enough guys who can do things to not just tragically give away a game, where I'm not so concerned about 7-0 or 7-1 or 7-2 losses anymore. They'll happen this year. There's going to be some ugly losses. It just happens when you're a bad team, and that's fine. But even the first game, it was late in the game, and I was like, man, Detroit is playing terribly. They're playing terribly. And it was still 1-0 for most of the game. That's the difference. That's the difference that the depth and the goaltending makes. But yeah, in terms of what's really going to change and get wins on the board where we might not have had it before, it's like, I have so many bad cooking analogies in my head. I'm just going to make Evan groan if I do it. Zadina's like, he's like salt on that second line. Like there's talent there, but it just needs to be enhanced. He's the salt in that recipe. And
make no mistake, that's still a below league average second line. Like it's,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like it is what it is, but it's better than last year. And I think the biggest indicator of why this is important, and it sounds like we're saying the Red Wings' entire season rides on Filip Zadina, and that's not necessarily what we're saying. But if I told you before the season that the Red Wings were going to play one of the better teams in their division twice in a back-to-back, and the top line would play the 2 worst games I've ever seen them play, and Detroit would come out of that 1-1, you'd say I was high. You would never believe it. Because last year, there would have been zero chance. If the top line played as bad as they did these last 2 games with last year's roster, we're probably talking about a couple of 6-0 losses. But it didn't happen. I mean, obviously, most of the credit for these 2 games goes to Bernier and Greiss. Like, I'm not sugarcoating that at all. They are going to have to be the Red Wings' 2 best players this year. That's just the cold reality of it. Through 2 games, they have been. In the second game, the Red Wings got their secondary scoring. which matters. And they pulled it through. Like, they still have their glaring weaknesses on this team. Like, they are getting caved in shot differential. If you're an analytics believer and expected goals, Detroit is dead last in the entire NHL through 2 games out of 31 teams. So based on where they should be right now, they are the statistical worst team in the league. But, it's growing pains. Now, not every team's Carolina. Not every team's a shot generation monster like Carolina. So the shot differentials won't always be this bad. They do get, 8 games against Chicago this year. So we got to take that all with a grain of salt. But yeah, it's a bad start to the season. But at least the things we needed to start seeing from players, not from the team, not from the systems, but from the players we've at least seen. Fabry seems to be holding his weight at center. Bobby Ryan came in and he did in his first game what we hoped he'd do. Zadina's outperforming expectations. The new guys, the experiments, if you want to call them, have looked good. Troy Stetcher and John Merrill have been revelations on the blue line. Vlad Nemesnikov apparently can't finish a goal to save his life, but he's getting chances and he's not getting caved in his own end. That's a huge win.
Fits right in.
Yeah, he's basically Darren Helm when Darren Helm's not in the lineup.
He's the younger version of Darren Helm.
Honestly. So like the biggest problems with this team right now are for the most part the carryovers from last year that we couldn't get rid of, and Mark Stahl. But we got a second round pick with him. So he came as advertised, which is catastrophically bad.
Let's start off with Bobby Ryan. So you alluded to this, Brad. He came in and did what we hoped he would all do. His first game back, he had to miss the first game due to COVID protocol. Injury, right? Sorry, it's so muddy. Everything's called non-roster.
You should just say he's unfit to play.
Yeah, unfit to play. We're just going to use the same verbiage. Bobby Ryan came back his first game with the Red Wings, continuing his heroic comeback to the NHL after battling addiction last year. He had that hat trick game with Ottawa. Comes in and scores in his first game with Detroit. And it's Detroit's first goal of the season because we won't talk about the first game. Easiest guy in the league to root for. Loved that was Bobby Ryan's goal. I think that like a lot of Red Wings fans would have picked that as like the storybook first Red Wings goal of the year. It's dramatic because it's the first goal of the year for a team that's going to be at the bottom of the standings, but it was just so good to see from Bobby Ryan.
We only have like 70 more goals, so we have to enjoy every single one.
Yeah.
That might not be that far off as we would like to think.
And the way that goal came about, it's not just that it was a feel-good moment from Bobby Ryan. Bobby Ryan capitalized on a fantastic play from his teammate, Filip Zadina. Brad was talking earlier about his puck-hounding abilities. The way he stripped the puck, gained control, turned his body, and immediately made an excellent pass to a high-danger area, which was Bobby Ryan being in the right place, and who fired it home. Phenomenal play, like absolutely fantastic play. And I was really happy that happened on the first goal, because some people were saying Zadina wasn't good in the first game. I'm like, no, Zadina was doing these kinds of things in the first game. It's just nothing was really coming through. Carolina's defense is stalwart to say the least, and Red Wings overall weren't very good, but Zadina made a fantastic play there.
That goal is actually a good example about why we get so angry over line combinations, because you'd see Zadina and Fabry on the second line, and people will go, well, yeah, we really just swapped out Val Filip for Bobby Ryan. Like, why does that matter all that much? Because on that goal, all 3 players made the right play. Fabry was hard on the forecheck, and he forced Carolina to make a risky short pass because Zadina was closing on the guy. And so Fabry forced the turnover. Filip Zadina got the turnover, and Bobby Ryan went to the right spot. All 3 of them did what they were supposed to do. That resulted in a goal. I don't have confidence in half the roster to be able to do that. So when we say, oh, why is Darren Helm in the second line? Why is Val Filip? Why is Adam Ernie up in the lineup? And people are like, relax, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it does for plays like that. Now, again, we're talking about 1 or 2 moments in a game. Like, I understand that on most shifts, it's not going to matter. But here's the thing. Those moments matter a lot. There's a reason the Red Wings got shut out in the first game, and it was because they weren't clicking any of the lines. So the fact that now they have a second and third line that have actually played pretty well the first 2 games, all things considered, it's good. Like, now if the top line gets going, Maybe the Red Wings aren't getting like comically outshot every game.
Yeah, it's funny because we're talking about the top line not being good through the first 2 games. Larkin scored twice last game. Larkin scoring twice was like, one of them was an empty net goal, and one of them was, he used his speed, took the puck behind the net, and just tried to center it in front. And instead, it went off. I can't remember who it was. Trocheck, yeah. It went off his skate and then his stick or something stupid like that, and it went in. And neither of those are pretty goals, and neither of those are like skill finesse goals. But look, if your team is playing bad and you guys have been off for a year and you are severely behind the curve against, teams in your division, Carolina, they're going to have to play 8 times. Carolina was a playoff team. They've played much more recently than Detroit. You need to grind out those ugly goals. And at the same time, Larkin, Bertuzzi, Mantha need to be significantly better. Both of those things can be true. And I think that's where we're at. So this is why we're so happy with a 3 or a 4-2 results. One of those being an empty net goal, because it's a game where Detroit didn't play. They got better from the first game to the second game, but not enough where you really would have won this game 100 out of 100 replays,
Yeah, they win that game like maybe 1 out of every 5. But it was what it was. We are overanalyzing a win in the second regular season game of the year, but that's what we're going to do because we haven't got to analyze games in a really long time.
Just like the Red Wings, good. We're brushing off our analysis skills of the games. It's going to take some time.
Shaking the rust off.
Yeah. We need some reps at this.
Like more than a few Red Wings still need to do.
Yeah, and on that note, let's chat about Anthony Mantha. First couple of games have not looked pretty.
No, these are, I will argue, the 2 worst games I've ever seen him play as a professional hockey player. AHL, NHL, I don't care what level you want to talk about. Now, the thing that was a little irritating, understandable but irritating, was the Twitter narrative immediately jumped to, what a lazy guy. He's always been a floater, yada, yada, yada. No, don't say that. Do not equate anything that's happened in the last 2 games with the last 4 seasons.
Is this Quinton Byfield?
Right. No, there's something fundamentally different between Mantha and Byfield, but we won't get into that.
The meme with the 2 jacked arms and they're like high-fiving. It's like those 2 groups coming together to just shit on people.
Yeah. But you can, if you're saying, this is Mantha, this is who he is, he's a lazy floater. Okay, well, how is he if he was a lazy floater last year and put up almost a point per game and consistently looked dangerous, why hasn't that happened the last 2 games? No, there is something different with Mantha this year. I don't bet on the fact that, he's just being lazy, because where was that the last 4 years then? Because I've went to hell and back on this podcast explaining that Anthony Mantha is not a lazy player. It's because he's so big and smooth that what he does on the ice looks effortless. You say, look at him barely skating, and then he wins the race. It looks like he's not even trying. He won the puck battle. He's in the wrong spot. He just danced through a guy and scored. Like, he didn't make those plays by not trying. No matter how hard it looked like he was trying, it didn't matter. He made the damn play. So let's get off that narrative right away. But that being said, it has to be something. So the easy answer, and probably the most likely answer here, is rust. I mean, Bertuzzi's looked bad. Larkin's looked bad. A couple other players on the team have looked pretty bad. Fair. There's also the possibility that a few people toss around that did make a lot of sense, because Mantha was barely moving out there. People are saying maybe he had COVID during the shutdown. COVID absolutely decimates your lungs. So if his cardio is completely in the shitter, that would make a lot of sense with what we're seeing right now. He just can't keep up. He doesn't move. He doesn't battle for pucks. He's not making hard plays. He's literally just kind of standing there as an outlet for Bertuzzi and Larkin so he can give it back to them. And even then, it's not even getting to them half the time. Could just be a poor off-season conditioning routine. Big guys like him generally focus on strength training and workouts because, hey, you focus on your strength. That's what makes you good. But if you go too heavy in one direction and you neglect the conditioning, your cardio goes in the shitter. So maybe Mantha just had a really poor off-season conditioning plan. Maybe he's hurt. Maybe there's an injury he's battling we don't know about. Maybe he's recovering from an off-season injury that we don't know about. Who knows? The dude's injury prone. It wouldn't be the farthest fetched thing in the world. I don't know if any of those are right, but it's one of them. It's got to be one of them because I'm not buying the, he's just not trying narrative.
You know what my answer is? He's a player who always has taken time to get warmed up, and he had 2 bad games. End of story. It happens in hockey. I'm more concerned about this is if this is 5 games in a row.
He had 7 points in his first 2 games last season? I'm not, mind you, that's with preseason, but still, he had 2 preseason games last year and the same amount of training camp, so it's not that dramatically different where he goes from maybe the best 2 games he's ever played in his life to the worst 2 this season. I don't know. I chalk it up to some combination of rust and poor conditioning. That's my bet. That's what it looks like. Because again, he's getting hit and he's not doubling over on the ice, so I don't think injury's near the top of my guesses. And Blashill's not limiting his ice time. He's still throwing him out there 18 minutes a night. So I think if Mantha said, hey, I had the Rona, or hey, I'm injured, I don't think Blashill would ride him as hard as he has. So I'm going to say he's just rusty and out of breath.
I guess I've had COVID for 10 years at least, because that's describes my symptoms on the ice as well.
What's it called? Occam's razor. The simplest solution is generally.
Yeah. Your point about the narrative, Brad, it's funny because this is hypocritical, because on this podcast, we break down and analyze, one game, which is only the second game of the season, for a long time. But people who just take one small story and run with it, it's like you cannot survive as a fan. Like your sanity cannot stay intact if you're going to lose your mind over 2 games like this from a player. You can talk about, like, of course you can say like, yeah, Mantha had a couple awful games. Like, he looked like shit out there. That's factual. That's fine to say. But to say Mantha's lazy, or he's never tried, or he was never as good as we thought he was, it's like, hey, well, let's relax a little bit, please. Like, chill out.
Twitter during that second game made me realize a lot of people have not liked Anthony Mantha for a long time, and this is finally their excuse to vent it out. I always knew he was a lazy piece of shit was like the number 1 response in my timeline when I asked, okay, seriously, what's up with Mantha? Because he doesn't look right. That was like the top response or some variation of that. Oh boy. I get it. 10 months of not being able to angry tweet about the Red Wings. I'm right there with you. I had the pent up frustrations that I needed to get out too. But here's the thing. And this is why I hate when people just spew bullshit on the internet. And let me preface this by saying, I know that forever in the history of time, people always just spew bullshit on the internet. So I know it's not going to change, but
Twitter.com/Brad Crisco.
Yeah. Mantha since juniors had that rep of, he's lazy. He looks like he's floating out there. Again, I've tried to explain why that is, even though he's not a lazy hockey player, but it stuck. And now when he has these 2 horrendous games, that's the number 1 storyline that pops up. And you know how it's just a Mantha thing and it's just people with a vendetta against Mantha for no good reason? You know who else looked just as effing bad the first 2 games? Tyler Bertuzzi. Do you know who hasn't had that reputation for the last 4 years? Tyler Bertuzzi. So Tyler Bertuzzi has played just as bad as Anthony Mantha, but why isn't that narrative going on around him? I mean, he's been maybe not as bad, but pretty damn close. But
Bertuzzi doesn't break his hand when he punches people.
Yeah, but that narrative isn't flying around. So to all the Mantha haters, if you want to call Mantha lazy POS, but you should get on the Bertuzzi train too, because he's just as guilty.
Hot or not players, who else had a really good couple of games, or who else deserves attention? I know, Brad, you talked about Stetcher, you just talked about Merrill.
Yeah.
Anyone else who stood out for you guys? For me, obviously, is the goalies. The 2 best games you could ask for to start the season from Red Wings goaltenders, in my mind.
Yeah. Obviously, the goalies goes without saying. Brome was again noticeable in the second game. Not as much as he was in the first game, but noticeable. Made things happen. Big fan. Glendening somehow had 3 breakaways. Hit the net on none of them, but hey, good on him to actually get those chances. Again, Nemesnikov was effective. He'd be the story right now if he could score. Mm-hmm. Fabry, again, a little bit of a redemption arc in the second game, which was good. Not there yet, but I'll take any improvement I can get. De Kaiser hasn't been great. Hronik hasn't looked like himself yet. Nemeth hasn't really caught back up yet. Yeah, not too many standouts for me. Ernie's had a couple shifts that he was noticeable, which is more than I can say about any point last year. So that's a step in the right direction, I guess. But yeah, for by and large, not really many.
Yeah, to really get a good assessment of where these players are at, I think we're going to be looking into mid-February in my mind. It just takes time, and it's not like the NHL is not where you want to do a baptism by fire. Like, look at how many rookies have just had their development destroyed or severely impeded by coming into the NHL too soon. Coming in out of shape or coming in with a lot of rust, it's really, really difficult to do. And it's not like it comes off after a few games. All of a sudden you're at game speed. Like, no, these the rest of the league is also getting better every single game. So if they had a head start, that head start persists. So yeah.
And I still maintain too, because I'm trying to be optimistic here by saying guys like Fabry improved and Ernie looked noticeable in a couple of shifts. It's still very worthwhile for all Red Wings fans to go watch the rest of the NHL, watch other games, because it really does put you in perspective how far behind this team is. Like Fabry, if I was holding him up to the standard of an average second line center in the NHL thus far this season, he's failing miserably. But he's put in a bad spot, and he's got defensemen who, for the most part, can't get the puck to him, and a coach who doesn't have a system in place. I'm not even going to say a system in place that benefits him. I'm not even convinced there's a system in place at this point. So it's worth noting that we have to keep in mind two things. The context of how is a Red Wing doing versus the rest of the Red Wings, because that is a barometer that we absolutely need to keep an eye on. But then remember, what is a league average barometer, so that we don't jump to a conclusion and say Robbie Fabry is the solution at second line center for the next 10 years. If he plays well, there is a very strong possibility that Robbie Fabry will play well this year and will be happy with his play at second line center this year. And the answer at the end of the season should still be, yeah, no, this is definitely not the solution at second line center. Maybe he massively performs, and it is. I'm not betting on it, but maybe it happens. I don't know. We got to keep every option open, but those two perspectives and benchmarks need to be in the back of your head all season if you're trying to gauge where the Red Wings are at.
Yeah, the side load storyline of, is this good per the league, or is this good for just the context of the Red Wings rebuild? It just applies broadly, and it'll also give you a lot of context if you're wondering why we're negative when we should be happy about something, or overly positive when the team just sucked ass for 3 straight games. Like, that's to kind of give you some context there. Goals for the Red Wings moving forward. I think there's 2 games they'll play before the next time we chat. We'll probably be back on Wednesday with our midweek. 2 games against Columbus. One of them at like noon tomorrow, and the next one is 7 the next night. In my mind, there's 2 major goals, 2 key things that should be worked on. First is the top line has to wake up. They need to be generating high danger chances. They need to, maintain puck possession, and they need to be like working off the cycle in the offensive zone substantially more. Pretty much the goal for them is be better, like just be substantially better in every way. And second in my mind is for Zadina to maintain, his effort and how he's been able to display his skill. Because like I said, he wakes up whoever he plays with on that second line in a way where Bobby Ryan's skills are all of a sudden way better utilized. Obviously, the goal is for the whole team to be better, but in my mind, those are the 2 things that are going to stand out and make a difference on the scoreboard for the Wings.
I think the biggest difference right now, I'm aware there's a lot wrong with the Red Wings, but I think the biggest hindrance to them, especially offensively right now, is their breakout/transition game. It's pitiful. It's a train wreck in every sense of the word. And the Red Wings have done Red Wing standard versus league standard, but the Red Wings have done a pretty good job once they get into the offensive zone. They can control a cycle. They get chances. They can't hit the net or finish on most of them, but they get their chances. In the defensive zone, they're doing a pretty decent job of at least minimizing high danger chances. They're still giving up way more shots than you would like, but it's not like last year where it was a 10-bell alarm in the slot every time it went into the Red Wing zone. Their problem is the in-between. They can't get it from the defensive zone to the offensive zone. I know I pointed out a few examples on Twitter yesterday. The one that stood in my head of just like, okay, this system is broken and what they're doing is Carolina had a delayed penalty. Detroit got possession in their own zone, regrouped in their own zone after Bernier had left the ice. So they had 6 players on the ice. Carolina was on a delayed penalty, so there was no risk if they touched the puck. You didn't have to worry about a turnover. So the Red Wings basically had carte blanche to do whatever they wanted on a breakout, run a normal system, get creative, try a risky seam pass to the middle to maybe spring someone, just whatever. Like, this is the easiest 5-on-5 breakout, 6-on-5 technically, you will ever get. They didn't get it to the blue line. Like, you can't tell me that's a system that's working when you have all that going for you and you can't even get it to the blue line. And because they can't get a breakout going, this is why we see a lot of frustration from the fans, because the Red Wings get to the blue line, chip, and change. They dump it in. They don't get any pressure because the line has been on the ice for 45 seconds already, and they've done a ton of skating because they've had to regroup 3 times. So I don't care. The Red Wings haven't played enough for me to really dive down and say, what is the cause of this? Is it the defensemen just missing their reads? Is it the forwards being in the wrong spot? Is there a system in place that they're running and it's just not working? Because it looks like chaos every time they try it. So I don't know what is the ultimate blame here, but it's the Red Wings' single biggest problem as a team for me through the first 2 games. That, and every time the puck goes within 10 feet of Mark Stahl.
Evan, your Red Wings keys to the game for the next 2 games.
How about not getting caved in your own end most of the game? Generate more shooting, as in more shots. And the goalies just need to keep doing their thing. The Red Wings don't generate any offense, and they're lucky that they've got 2 excellent finishers in Bobby Ryan and Filip Zadina on that second line. Otherwise, we'd be back to the one-trick pony Red Wings again.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow will be really interesting. Columbus hasn't won a game yet, and, John Tortorella, if his teams are on losing streaks, is probably cracking the whip pretty hard, so they'll be pretty hungry to come out and get a win against a team like Detroit. So I think it's a good measuring stick of sort of, it's only 3 games, the 3rd game, but now that it's a different team and a different sort of storyline, it'll be interesting to see what sort of team comes out tomorrow at noon.
So 2 more games again before we talk next time on the show. Some other small pieces of news. Christian Juice is now in the conditioning phase of his kind of COVID protocol or non-roster or unfit to play or whatever the hell it is. So he's done his 2 weeks and now is just getting up to game speed. So we can probably expect to see him at some point in the near future. Biega was put on waivers. Not a monumental thing. I'd be surprised if he got claimed. And this is just, you're going to see a lot of movement on the Red Wings roster all year as they bring players up to the taxi squad and up to the main group and sending them back down and everything. So we'll see what comes with that. Brad, your eyes just got really wide. Did something break, or do you?
Have you seen the tweet Anthony sent at us?
No.
Okay.
Is it bad?
It's something.
Oh, no. Oh, Mike, what is this? Are we Disney-fied?
I don't know.
That is terrifying.
Wow. I could not look more aggressively, suspiciously Middle Eastern.
Yeah,
like, that's funny because it's right.
That
Evan
makes
looks
you
like
look way worse.
Evan, you look like every bully in every Pixar movie ever.
Yeah, I've got some like weird chin strap kind of underbeard going on.
So he pulled the picture of me where I was doing my grow my beard out until Franz Nielsen scores a goal. And I was not keeping that thing like well groomed. Like that was a wild beard. And that's what he used for this. So I now look like I'm on a bulletin board somewhere in an FBI field office. I already have a hard enough time at airports, man. I don't need that.
Yeah, don't put that picture anywhere.
No. In other Wings news.
This is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Another Wings news. Not really a big surprise, but the official announcement's probably coming. Elliot Friedman has reported that Jimmy Howard is set to officially retire. So, great career from Jimmy. Obviously, when he left Detroit, I don't know if many people were expecting him to find another landing spot. I kind of thought Kenny Holland might take a risk on him for Edmonton. But yeah, Jimmy's calling it a career, and just want to take a moment to recognize this is a soapbox that's well worn. We've been on this one a lot, so you guys are probably groaning as you hear this, but this guy deserves a ton of credit. Did a lot for a lot of Red Wings teams that had really shitty defenses. Like, this guy's been getting shelled his entire career, and the fact that it was 1.5 or 2 maybe bad seasons at the end, I'm surprised it wasn't more. He's been solid, and he's kept the team afloat a lot of times when they otherwise didn't deserve it. When he was at the peak of his game, I thought he was among the top 10 goalies in the league, and I think he definitely had the skill and the ability to bring this team to a cup had there been a better roster in front of him. I don't know. I think anyone who can stand behind that Red Wings defense and just get obliterated by pucks night in and night out for as long as he did, he deserves a ton of credit. I'll always remember Jimmy Howard fondly, and I don't think anyone should let the latter part of his career tarnish his reputation.
For what it's worth, Ryan, there was a report that Ken Holland did, in fact, reach out to Jimmy Howard. Jimmy said he was just happy spending time with his family, so he declined. I guess that was kind of his, like, yeah, I should probably retire moment.
Good for you, Jimmy.
All these jokes about people keep sending me, oh, Edmonton's in goalie problems. Are we going to get a first for Bernier? And like, no, because of the border and it's still early. But Ken Holland's penchant for former Red Wings makes me think maybe, but
there are other players in the league. It's like Stan Bowman in Chicago. Like, you can have other players other than players that you've gotten rid of.
Yeah, honestly. And it's like Pittsburgh and Minnesota. You guys know you can trade with other teams, right? But yeah, Jimmy slander will not be tolerated in this house. Like, he was an upper end goalie for a couple years as part of his career and above average for most of his career. And again, Ryan's right. Good with a good team, he could go on a run. He just never really had all that good of a team. He had 2 Lidstrom years and they, I think, made it out of the first round both years. So he was at least that capable. And that was his rookie and sophomore season. I don't think he'll ever get the respect from Red Wings fans that he actually deserves because the team success did not come while he was there. But it's a shame because he does deserve to go down as one of the better Red Wings goalies of all time. But we know this is a franchise that looks at W's above all else, as you should. But at the same time, when judging a career of an individual player, context matters. And Jimmy didn't get much in his favor.
I remember, I think while we were doing the podcast, there was a year where just before the All-Star break, he was having potentially Vezina quality numbers. Oh, and then he got hurt, and I think he was supposed to go to the All-Star game. We sent somebody else, and he came back, and it was never really the same.
Yep, I remember that season very, very well. I want to say it was.
Well, it had to be.
I want to say it was either 13-14 or 14-15 is what my gut's telling me. But yeah, I remember, like, you looked at his numbers before his injury. Like, he legitimately probably was the Vezina front runner at that point, especially in the context of he didn't have a good team in front of him. And then, just the injury happened. He missed a month or so, and then he only had like 6 or 7 games when he came back. And when you have that small of a time frame after an injury, it doesn't really work all that well for you.
Yeah, that year I was, even more than the Vezina, he was actually, for a small period of time there, well on pace to break Marty Brodeur's wins record that year. Like, Detroit was just clicking in a lot of ways, and then obviously it's easy to say, he wouldn't have beat that record, and that's probably true, but still, that was a great year for Jimmy. That's the one that always sticks out in my head when I think this is how good Jimmy Howard could be.
Yeah, he was basically above 900 his entire career, and he had one where he was like 923 and 924 in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And on not particularly decent teams.
Elsewhere in the NHL, Jacob Voracek. Travis Konecny's face while Jacob Voracek unloaded on a reporter was hysterical. I don't know the full backstory there, but it was just funny as hell to see.
People were equating this reporter to the Steve Simmons of Toronto, of Philadelphia. And
Wonderful. So
people are posting old tweets and old articles that guy had wrote and basically said, like, Giroux and Voracek are the reason why this team's not winning, blah, 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 blah. So, may as well get your shots in. The fine's not going to be that bad anyway, and I'm sure the guys in the locker room are definitely chipping in for that one.
I already love Travis Konechny. I think he's hilarious and an awesome hockey player, but watch him work his damnedest to keep his face straight. And then the next question was for him. They were like, Travis, and then he goes, yep. Henrik Lundqvist is currently recovering, which is great to see. So I think he's going to be he's in Cleveland. That's where he had his surgery, and then is going to be up in New York soon after with his family. I heard something about that hospital, like the cardiac or cardiology department there is where like the queen, like royalty go to have heart related surgery. So he's in good hands.
Well, he is a monarch. He is royalty. They don't call him King Henrik for nothing.
Oh, I thought you meant like actual.
I mean, Sweden's a big country, maybe.
He probably is. He's already a rock star. He's probably royalty at some capacity.
He probably actually wasn't, but the Swedes looked at him. They're like, "Wow, this guy is our best ambassador in so many ways. We're gonna lie and say he is."
No one could say no.
Yeah. If Henrik Lundqvist came over one day and said, "Hey, I'm actually your grandfather," I'd be like, "All right, yeah, you're right."
Makes sense biologically, but yes.
Any other news before we jump into overtime here?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there is, but none that we care to talk about.
I mean, we can do 30 minutes on Jay Bouwmeester retiring. Or 30 minutes on Tim Stützle's sweet first goal in the NHL.
Oh, that was so good.
It was like a half volley.
He literally timed it hitting the ice to just unload and got all of it. Like that, my God.
The Byfield haters were having the best day.
Oh, I have a couple Sens fan friends, and one of them sent it to me, and the other one was like, "You like that?" And I was like, "Man, I was like, anyone with a brain could tell you Stützle was going to come in and be good right away. Like his biggest thing, like he's a top 3 pick, and he's extremely mature and probably ready to jump in right away, especially on Ottawa. Like, don't be surprised. He's the Tkachuk pick, but a much better prospect overall. Like." Ottawa fans have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
For like 2 to 3 years until he's a UFA.
Yeah. And the fact he never had to wear their atrocity version of a jersey, and he gets to wear this elite uniform that the Senators now use. It's win-win. Those so black jerseys are chef's kiss.
Unreal. All right, we're going to jump into overtime, starting with our Patreon supporters. For new listeners, the overtime segment is where we take questions and comments from fans, listeners, starting with Patreon, because these are the people who allow the show to grow, and something else. I'm not really that good at rhyming. We're going to start with Brendan Taylor, who says, "My girlfriend has just recently gotten into being a Wings fan. What can I do to enhance her experience, as she doesn't know much about the Wings or hockey itself? Keep up the great work, boys." The first, someone replied and said, give her free alcohol to cope, which is good. Secondly, find documentaries, videos, anything going through the Red Wings glory years, working up to the glory years. So I'd say from like 95 all the way through 02, like all those storylines, like really build the Red Wings legacy that way.
Even like throwing on like the HBO Road to the Winter Classic when Babcock was still the coach.
Yeah, those weren't good times.
They weren't good times, but at least it gets you inside the organization a little bit, even though I don't even know who remains at this point.
So here's my counter take to these two, because as someone who truly appreciates, loves, and adores the Red Wings legacy, it's created a standard that I don't know if any future iterations of this team will ever hold up to. Just teach her about the last 4 years. That way we come off as the lovable losers. That way, if we're ever good again, hey, it's fun. It's not like, oh, finally. It's like, oh my God, we're actually good.
That's such a Bills take on it.
It is. And do you know how fun the past 3 weeks have been because of it?
There's only 2 more days this year left of Brad just randomly tweeting, "Let's go."
I'd rather be, the phoenix that rises from the ashes, the once historic and gold standard franchise, trying to come back to that, even though we're not even copper at best.
Ryan, it's funny you mentioned that too, because tweeting about the Bills made me remember what it's like to tweet just as a fan, not like, because we overanalyze everything and break down everything, yada, 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 just like raw emotion. Let's fucking go. I forgot what that felt like, and it was nice.
Antonio Gracia says, after getting caught up with Bobby Ryan's story, what other players, past or present, have stories that are worth sharing?
Oh my God, so many. How do I narrow this down? If you want to focus on this year, I mean, literally, this is Oscar Lindblom's first full season back from cancer. Craig Anderson and what he went through in recent history with his wife's brain cancer, and the shutout he had in his first game back. Breaking down on the ice was crazy. I mean, everybody knows who Mario Lemieux is, but I don't think people realized how bad Mario Lemieux's health was during the 90s. He did some insane shit for what he was going through, which, again, does not get the recognition it deserves.
Wasn't he like a 2 points per game player when he came back the year after his cancer was cured?
He had a season where he missed about half of the season to have his radiation or chemo, whatever he was doing for his lymphoma.
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
Came back and won the Art Ross.
Yeah, that is insane.
That's cold as hell.
That is... that would be literally like Connor McDavid starting a season game 40 and then putting up 100 points and winning it. Like,
I can't even
think
show up to my
about that.
beer league. I can't show up to beer league when I'm hungover.
Let
alone what Mario Lemieux did.
Like, if someone's in the Art Ross conversation and they miss 10 games, we scream from the hilltops that he should win the Hart. Mario missed half a season and legitimately won the scoring race. Like, Jesus Christ.
Caitlin Wood says, Brome is a good boy. Hronek kept the walls from collapsing in. Zadina is a very, very good boy, and Larkin is a captain. There's a lot to prove, and the win wasn't entirely pretty, but damned if I'm not proud of my little lads giving it their all. Hang in there, dubs, and stay safe. Hatrick Swayze says, hi guys, hope you're all doing well. Do you think Brome is our new Damian Brunner? He's looked sharp so far. I'd like to see him get some minutes on the third line soon. Anyway, stay fresh, cheese bags.
Brunner was very much a one-trick pony. He was offense or bust. Brome seems to have a more well-rounded game. I don't think Brome will ever be an offensive dynamo. I don't think he'll be a top 6 guy, but he's got enough to his game that he can fill a few different roles, which makes me believe there's probably a longer-term option here for him, especially considering the guys who are playing in the bottom 6 right now, Darren Helm and Luke Glendening, both unrestricted free agents at the end of the year. Franz Nielsen, that contract can't end soon enough, and a great buyout candidate at the end of this season. So there's going to be spots there for Brome, and this season is just his audition, and I so far so good, so I'll bet on some role in the future.
Taylor Tadgull, who I believe, yes, brand new patron. So welcome, Taylor, to the Dub family. Says, hi guys, new patron from London, Ontario. Oh, not too far from us.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. These guys from Kitchener, I'm from Windsor, so we're both going to collectively rip on your city. Been a Wings fan my whole life, and I'm so glad I found your podcast while living in Leafland. Zadina with a takeaway into an assist reminded me of Datsuk. Thoughts on Zadina's energy during the game? Clearly, he was always the most excited. Jumping into Fabry's arms like long-lost lovers made me smile.
If anybody tries to old hockey guy that out of Zadina, I will fist fight you. Like, Zadina's energy on the ice during play and after goals is the best on the team. And it makes me love him even more. And if I ever see his spirit broken, I will weep.
Yeah, if you bully Zadina, if anyone tries to bully Zadina for being pumped that his team is doing well, we will find you and we will hit you with words. I said that last part for legal reasons.
Yes. If you use the phrase, act like you've done it before, we will hit you with big, heavy words.
And you know how hard it is for Brad to lift big, heavy words? He doesn't read too good. Cody Stark says the best goaltending in the show, Bernier, Grice, and Hronek. I forgot about that.
Mention that.
Yeah. Also, Nemesnikov ruined my pick for first goal of the year with the most uncreative breakaway move ever. Finally, Mickey hates the Wings power play zone entry, so Bilesma must change it now. Ken and Mick are like no holds barred this season.
I know. Okay. I'm so happy someone brought this up because I appreciate that both sides of this, because Ken and Mick don't give a shit. They're like, if we have to deal with this all year, we're calling it as we see it. Whereas Murphy and Keats are coming in and they have to be like positive and optimistic so viewers won't give up on the team by game 4. And people are pointing out like Nemeth jumped on the ice and then jumped back off the ice to avoid a too many men, and they like showered him with praise for it. And someone on Twitter is like, oh my God, is this really what we're resorting to? And I'm like, oh yeah, what the hell else are they going to talk about at that point? So I have so much sympathy for that crew, and I respect whatever angle they take, but I am 1,000% here for more of Ken and Mickey's absolute bullshit just ripping on the team.
Neil G, another new patron. Welcome, Neil, and thank you for your support. Says, hey guys, hey gents, new patron here all the way from the great state of Alaska. Oh, wow. I grew up in Michigan and I've always been a Wings fan. I'm happy to finally be supporting the best Red Wings podcast around. Hey, thanks, Neil. Man, I want to go to Alaska.
Me too. The snowboarding there is insane. Hook me up.
Yeah. Neil, we're going to hit you up one day when all this is over. Says, the boys looked decent last night, especially Zadina. It's so nice to see him craftily take the puck in the offensive zone, but it pains me to watch Stahl on the ice. Far too many times he looked frozen and just straight up puck watching. You can't tell me that he's a better option than Cholowski. What do you guys think? Anyways, happy to be here and go Wings.
I have a gut feeling that he's here because there was a handshake like, we're getting a second round pick, but we might actually have to play him to get him to waive his no trade, because yeah, he is bad. I am curious to see what's going to happen though with Juice coming into town, because they can't send him to the taxi squad or the AHL because he'd have to go through waivers again, and in which case I would imagine Anaheim would just claim him right back. So, which is also why I think Biega went on waivers, and they're not going to claim Juice to not play him. I would think that would just seem like a waste, but I don't know. None of the other 5 deserve to come out of the lineup. If anybody's coming out of the lineup, it has to be Stahl. So I really don't know.
Josh Terrell says, tough time for cord cutters in the Detroit area. All the major streaming companies don't have agreements with Fox Sports Detroit, and NHL TV blacks out the games for 48 hours. Should be interesting if Fox Sports Detroit gets this resolved soon. I know some other people in comments have posted tutorials on how to possibly get around blackouts. I've never done that, and I wouldn't legally condone that, but it wouldn't be hard to find.
I would never download a car.
It's the pirate's life for me.
I would never drive a car. I'd download it. I'd download it just...
No, me neither.
Ghost of Podcast Pass says, how does Glendening have 3 prime scoring chances within 10 feet of the net, shoot the puck on all 3, and have 0 shots to show for it? Like, he's an NHL player, right? I love him, but that was bad.
I know.
Bar down or bust.
Yeah.
Luke Glendening does not aim center mass. He literally is posting in or not at all.
I think his shooting percentage is legitimately higher on the backhand.
It's funny, though. I was actually thinking about it. Every goal I remember Luke Glendening scoring has actually gone bar and in. I don't... Cool, obviously, he's probably scored 50 goals in his career, and I remember 5 of them, but still.
Do you think he's scored 50?
Oh, God, no, probably not.
Luke Glendening. Let's see how many... Oh, my God. It defaults to... He has scored... 51. No shit.
Oh, look at me go.
Yeah.
And the Spinorama against Tampa Bay. I'll never forget that one.
Yes. Kay Stangy says, hey guys, had this conversation with my buddies the other day and wanted to see what your guesses are. We settled on somewhere between 5 and 10%. The question being, what percentage of NHL players have won the Stanley Cup during their careers? I think it's higher than 10%.
I think it is, just with trades and everything. So I'd say 15.
I'm thinking 15. And I think it might even be higher than 15.
I can't see it. There's 30 teams. I can't see it. Then again, if an average career is about 10 years ballpark, that means in theory 10 different teams. That's 200-ish players, 250 with healthy scratches and whatnot. You know what? 250 out of 750. This might break 20%. Like, I know guys retire, rookies come in and out, so it won't be the even 1/3 like that math would dictate. But Yeah, that might be higher than we think.
Yeah, I'll put this closer to like maybe 18 or 19. I one day I'll do the math on that, or maybe Evan will do it. We're gonna see him furiously typing one day. The actual Terry says, oh, here we go. It's so refreshing to hear you guys make bad takes about hockey instead of bad takes about pandemics, financial markets, housing markets, etc. Keep that shit up and you might just make it out of the top 100 Wings podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you, actual Terry, for your never-ending support. Ryan Kearns says, hey boys, Brad, I know you'll like this one. I'm watching the opening night game with my girlfriend over Zoom. She's not a hockey fan, and as the Wings run a power play in the third, I was complaining about their breakout. I was basically narrating exactly what was going to happen. Okay, so he's going to drop back. He's going to skate it through the neutral zone, pass it to the guy standing still, who brings it over the line, dump it in, etc. It's so predictable. The other thing I noticed was when a player is skating it in on the wing, they'll curl up right at the circle and pin it against the boards or try to pass to the point while waiting for everyone else to catch up. Am I wrong in thinking they'd get better opportunities by trying to take it behind the net?
Yeah, I hate everything about the Red Wings breakout, transition, and zone entries. They do none of that well, outside of a handful of players who are capable of doing it by themselves. I think that list starts and ends with Larkin, Mantha, and Zadina. I really don't care what they try. Anything but what they're doing now is all I'm asking. Anything. Like, I remember watching Fabry come up the boards on what was already a scrambled neutral zone transition, look at Zadina streaking through the middle of the ice, and then looking him off and dumping it in, to which Carolina got the puck, turned it around, drove up ice, and forced Detroit to take a penalty. So literally anything else would be fine.
Jake Nagy says, I've nearly forgotten the joy that comes with the Red Wings win. What a great feeling, but as we know, the season will be mostly despair. So here's a question to bring us back down to earth. What wing over the past decade has been most frustrating for you to watch? Oh, this is an easy answer for me. I was discussing this with my family, and some candidates were Eriksson, Lilia, Quincy, and Luke Witkowski. Oh, hey, take it easy on Witter. That answer for me is Jonathan Eriksson. I could not understand playing him the way this team played him from nearly day one. Drove me insane. Drove me nuts. And it sucks because he's a good guy, and it's not his fault that he got overpaid and overplayed. But yeah, drove me nuts.
Overpaid and overplayed, you say? Justin Abdelkader, come on down.
Damn it.
There's my answer, because I legitimately loved the dude, and I hated that the whole fan base had to turn on him because he was so bad and so misused.
Now I don't even know who to pick. You guys took the top two candidates.
Steve Ott, because he got traded before he
No.
can give you. Yeah, you lost out on your.
That was a sad day, and has been since.
Oh man, you've gone downhill. You didn't have bags under your eyes until that day.
A lot of things changed that day. A lot of misfortune ever since.
Hey, someone tweeted. I should have asked at the time, but someone tweeted or someone posted somewhere. They said Evan got engaged, and I didn't know whether you actually got engaged or like Ben Affleck got engaged or something stupid like that, or Shea
Weber's already married. No,
yeah,
I don't know. Catherine saw that. She's like, what's going on Twitter? I was like, what? She's like, people are saying you're engaged. I was like, that's news to me. I was like, is that news to you in case I forgot? And
You
she's
just
like,
look
"That's
at her
news
and
to
you're
me."
just like, no.
You're like, no, we definitely didn't. Looks down at her hands. Yeah, no, I didn't.
I was just like, all right, good night.
It means something, or it says a lot though, when my first response is not, no, he's not. It's, did this fucker get engaged and not tell us?
Yeah, it's like
not.
engaged, married, Kat's currently 5 months pregnant. We would have no idea. I could legitimately see it happening.
100%. Evan will probably tell us about the wedding 3 days before, accidentally.
Yeah, no, it'll be like, so you guys coming later today? Coming to what?
Hey, where are you guys? We're not recording till 8 tonight. No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, can't make it tonight. Why not? Oh, I'm getting married.
You laugh, but that may actually be how it happens.
Evan Beckner says, having watched both games so far, I'm not sure how Mantha has become the whipping boy already. Obviously, we want him to score, but I thought he was fine. Him and Burt had quite a few chances shut down by Carolina because they apparently practiced nothing but how to knock down saucer passes. I've seriously never seen so many pucks knocked out of the air since Lidstrom retired. Carolina has a scary decor. Imagine trading Justin Falk and getting better. Must be nice. Yeah, that's a great way to put that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jacob Slavin is one of, if not the most underrated defenseman in the NHL.
Not anymore. He's not. Everybody's figured out. He was a Norris finalist last year, wasn't he? Or just off the ballot. But
They should have been on it.
Yeah, my argument against Mantha and Bertuzzi just having bad luck is if they're knocking down every pass, try something else.
Maybe have the puck.
Yeah. Maybe
fucked
skate
up.
past them so that you have distance where they can't knock it down. I don't know. Just they were bad.
First name bunch of numbers says, imagine if Helm played last night, would have been like 8-2.
Like Carolina?
Easy now.
I am going to get heat for that one.
Yeah. Liz B says, I absolutely love Zadina's reactions to goals, be it his own or a teammate's. It's like rainbows and sunshine. Slava Kozlov's doppelganger says, so I stand by my comment that Carolina are a bunch of wankers, but they're also a bunch of twits, twats, and muppets. Anyway, I bet Canucks Twitter is going crazy now with regret about their Zadina slander. Zadina is a +2 while Hughes is only a measly +1. Checkmate, you Canadian fools. Sticking with my Russian theme, of the many young Russian goalies incoming into the league, who will be the best of the bunch? Also, why does Russia have success developing goalies but no other position?
God, they're all the good Russian goalies are so young. I'm going to go with Shesterkin, even though I have high hopes for him, Sorokin, and Askarov, but I think Shesterkin is in the best situation of the three for long-term success with the team in front of him. So that's my tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think Sorokin's really good, but in terms of where the Islanders are and where I think they're going to go in the next 5-ish or so years, I don't think he's the obvious choice in that group. And Askarov may not even play. Well, he probably will.
If he can't hold on to his stick.
But Nashville's going the other way too, so I think we kind of just ruled it out by elimination.
Lars, the prophet of the towering behemoth, says, hello from a snow-covered Skarplinge, Sweden. I'm sorry for that. Now that you undoubtedly just butchered another Swedish name, I have a player from the past question. If you could add any one of these guys in their peak to the Red Wings, which would you pick out of? Oh, wow. Peter Klima, Alexander Selivanov, Yuri Khmelev? Himmelev? That's how his name is written? I've never seen it written down, but I've heard his name a million times. Himmelev.
I think so. I'm not looking at the text, but I think that's what you're talking about.
Michael Renberg or Brian Noonan?
It's a good list. I'm going to go with Renberg.
I would say Klima just based off familiarity with the player, honestly.
Renberg in his Legion of Doom days. Hard to go against it.
Personally, I'm stoked that the Red Wings versus the BJ team is on at 1800 in Sweden. Yay, primetime lethargic hockey. Hey, yeah, this is a gift game for the Swedes. Another new patron says, "G'day, Dud Duds. New patron here all the way from Redacted. Really glad I found your podcast, so I have 4 more accounts to @ on Twitter machine. Maybe Jimmy Devillano is right and Mantha is just a spare part. And to think we could have had a Pierre-Luc Dubois via trade, which we could have used to fleece Burger Van for Nick Suzuki and Romanov, neither of which sound French enough to play for Montreal. Figure it out, Eiserman."
Hey, you want to start the conspiracy theories? If you trade Mantha for Dubois while they're in the same city, you avoid the quarantine protocol. And guess who Detroit's next 2 games are against?
At least the golden boy Filip Zadina is helping to fill the net with pucks. I can't help but point out the obvious correlation between #elite mentor, Darren Helm returning to practice, and Zadina being heaps good as well as the team winning. Darren Helm 3-year contract extension ASAP. Jersey time. Cop guy, what Bills jersey combo do you want to see them rock next week? Stay fresh, cheese bags.
Blue on white, best. It's their best combination by far. Blue jersey, white pants, all the time. If not, white on white retros.
AJ Voss says Mantha's going to snap his slump in Game 4 against Chicago, so then all the haters can shift from Mantha sucks and is lazy to Mantha only performs against bad teams because he's lazy. Third Man In says, now that the Wings have clearly fixed all their problems, will they have to put the Discover logo on their Central Division Champions banner?
I hope so. I want the Red Wings to not be catastrophically bad this season because I want to vividly remember all the silliness from this year. We're like, this is the season we're going to tell our grandkids about in 50 years how we still played hockey when the world ended, and then rattle off all the dumb shit we did, and all that fun stuff.
Quaz says 2 things, my dudes. Does the team have enough talent to potentially overperform our conservative expectations?
No.
If we're talking like they finished with 80 points instead of 72, sure. If we're talking like this is a playoff team, I genuinely don't think it's there. I think the excitement comes from how much better this team is than last year, which is 2 different things.
Yep.
And number 2, should Mantha actually get put into the PK? I heard the light chatter. I think they should try everything.
I'm all for it if he plays like Anthony Mantha, not if he plays like he did the last 2 games.
RC Tendy says, holy schnikes, Mark Stahl is bad. I would bet money that if he played with a Cholowski jersey on, he would have been benched last game. Hopefully he's not. He's the first to get scratched for either Cholowski or Juice. Michael Barry says, hey guys, do you think Yzerman has given up on Ken Holland's prospects? It seems like they're not getting player over a guy, as Brad likes to say. Also, Bills over Mahomes list Chiefs.
You're crazy if you think Mahomes isn't going to play. The NFL's concussion protocol is a joke. Mahomes will play. I'll bet money on it. But anyways, I don't think so. I still tend to believe that there's a lot of truth to Yzerman's trying to protect them. And Yzerman still believes in the old school Detroit thinking of over-ripening your prospects. And let's be honest, outside of Cholowski, I don't think anybody really is NHL ready. And even Cholowski, in my opinion, it's like barely. Most teams he wouldn't be NHL ready, but obviously given the Mark Stahl conundrum, he should be in there. But yeah, I don't think there's any sort of allegiance or non-allegiance with these prospects.
Tyrone Bigham's brand Big Bag of Titties says, which non-Red Wing alumni would you take in fantasy? I feel like I've made so many mistakes in fantasy this week, but having Dylan in the second game come up clutch. Not much else, but thanks a lot, guys.
What? Non-Red
Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the question?
Which non-Red Wings alumni would you take in fantasy?
So anyone who's never played for Detroit?
Yeah.
Wayne Gretzky?
Mario Lemieux. There you go. Switch it up.
Bobby Orr. I'm going to maximize the points from the blue line.
Yarmer Yager. Stay Fresh Cheese Bags of Fournier Company says, hey there, fellas. Obviously, the Wings are a playoff team now. We're seeing how effective Mantha will be late in his career when he loses a step. As for now, trading him for Pierre-Luc Dubois would be bad. I'd give 2 seconds and a Berggren or Veleno at most for a talented yet underwhelming center who is a non-factor on the power play and faceoffs and has a shit attitude. Adam Ernie is like a soda machine. When you pour salt water into the coin slot and it starts randomly rocketing cans in various directions, will I be rewarded? Will I get hurt? Was this a good idea? Is that a thing with pop machines? You put salt in the coin slot?
I've never known of that.
Man, you New Yorkers are another breed. You guys are insane. No one should be surprised about Mark Stahl. He is what we knew he'd be. Got to cement his status on that bottom pair and make sure we lose Biega on waivers instead. That way we can avoid fixing the left point in the power play by keeping Cholowski on the taxi squad. Stay fresh, Cholowski bags. Woodson 2 says, good evening. Can someone explain to me why Ernie is on the Wings? It doesn't make sense. I've looked at it and the only solution is that the Wings are doing a long-term Make-A-Wish for him.
It's a charity game.
I mean, I have no strong feelings one way or another of Adam Ernie. There's a lot of guys I'd rather have in there, but it's also not a hill I'm willing to die on.
Over to Reddit, we have time for a couple more questions. Wings fan 64. Hey fellas, I'd love to support. Hey, if you can't support, by all means, literally just commenting, sharing the show with your friends, listening. That's fine by us. Do not feel bad about that. These are tough times. You take care of yourself first. Which popular player do you always forget about? For me, it's Kessel now that he's in Arizona. Probably going to add a lot of goalies to the list now that they all played musical teams this offseason.
Yeah. Which popular player have I forgot about? Okay, well, now I actually have to think about someone I haven't thought about in a while. Okay, let's narrow it down. Probably going to be someone out west because of, hashtag East Coast bias. It's been a while since I've put any thought into Ante Kopitar. I'm going to go with him.
Yeah, I think he's just been a victim of the Kings not really doing much with that team after they they went all in on their cups, and then they kind of waffled for a while before choosing a direction. 1327 Let's Go Red Wings says, which non-Wings organization has your favorite color commentator team? And which Red Wings commentator is your favorite / least favorite? And why is your... Man, people really rip on Murph. Mick wins everyone's hearts. Either Ken or Mick. Non-Wings color commentators?
Bob Cole considered.
He's retired. So, God. I'm going to go 3 separate answers because 2 of them are Canadian here. I will listen to any game Jim Houston or Chris Cuthbert is calling. And in the States, if I have to go like team-specific color commentator, I really like Joe Beninati out in Washington.
What about, I'll say Gord Miller.
Yeah, he's good too. That's a good call.
Yeah, you know what? TSN did a great job calling the World Juniors.
Yeah.
Captain Canada 7, according to current standings, our Wings are equally as talented as the Avs, Blues, Oilers, Canucks, Penguins, Islanders, Rangers, and Hurricanes. Yeah. All joking aside, if you haven't already gone over this ad nauseum, did you guys notice any drastic improvements / adjustments from Blashill compared to Game 1 that gives you hope?
Nope. Not a
scored a
single
goal,
goddamn one.
Yeah, they scored. My answer on this stays the same. I haven't noticed anything different. Brad gave you the fine details on why that's the case last episode and this episode, but I'm really going to reserve judgment until probably a month from now, just to give the team time to get warmed up, really.
Ryan, why are you reserving judgment? It's literally our goddamn job to analyze these things.
I think...
Yes, we won't form definitive conclusions for a while, but we're going to start forming conclusions as we go. We kind of have to.
If Detroit comes out tomorrow doing the exact same thing against a wildly different hockey team in Columbus, that'll give us a pretty good indication of things that are happening or not happening.
If Detroit's neutral zone transitions look great tomorrow, I'll be like, okay, Carolina just had a great game plan against us and they played us properly, or Blashill made an adjustment. Either way, yay.
Last comment here is from Twitter. It's a hashtag AskWWP question from the 0708 Wings. It says, what would you need to see from Zadina before you would regard him as better than Quinn Hughes? 20 to 25 goal play pace. I think you're looking at point per game pace here. You'd have
Hughes is like in Norris talks, like potential Norris winner. Like Zadina is going to have to put up 30 plus goals regularly to be in the conversation. Unfortunately,
you need a point per game pace here.
Yeah, like reality, because Quinn Hughes is going to put up 50 to 60 points on the regulars, and he's a defenseman, so Zadina is going to have to go beyond that.
He's going to have a year where we're thinking he's going to hit 50. Like, maybe seriously. Yeah. Like, he would have to do something like that.
Yeah, not to be a negative and not to dump on Zadina. In a redraft, Zadina still goes in the top 6, but in a redraft, Quinn Hughes is in the conversation for first overall. So,
like, it might sound like hyperbolic, but he may have to be like David Pastrnak.
Okay. That is this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast. We will be back with you in all likelihood on Wednesday night. So 2 games between now and then. Thank you all for tuning in. The season is well underway. We're having fun. We'd like to thank all of our listeners, our name-level sponsors, Arjun Shanker, Brett Bailey, Taylor Tadgall, brand new name-level sponsor. Thank you, Taylor. Kyle, Ryan Hubbard. Ryan, welcome to the show, or welcome to the name-level sponsors. Great name. R.A., the Detroit Deep Dish Drop Pass. Zach Spring, Citizen High Five, Cody Stark, Greach, Jeremiah Dobo, Jake Kiefer, Tyrone Bigham's brand big old bag of titties, Andrew Bohan, Scott Martin, Jacob Turner, Matt McKay, Craig Kibble, Brandon M., Matthew M. Rice, Luke Johnson, Kalen Wood, Hassam Al-Qassem, Hana Lee, Yves Bartels on behalf of the Sarah Grand Foundation, Sam Bankson, Zach Van, Josh Yelton, Trevor Pevovar, Evans Bingo Card, Ashley Van Conant, Beer Guy, Connor Leighton, Danny Jr., Matt Keeler, Stay Fresh Cheese Bags, A Fournier Company, Antonio Gracias, John Evans, Joseph Minama, Quaz, and Stan Olsen. Thank you guys so much. We will be back with you midweek. Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockey Town Evan.